While travelling Fallout 3's Capital Wasteland, you might come across a small settlement named Girdershade, housed beneath a crumbling freeway. Chatting to one of its residents, Ronald Laren, you'll also learn of the mysterious Dunwich Building.
My friend, you are at the ass end of the Capital Wasteland. If it weren't for Sierra, I'd be out of here. One thing I can tell you is stay the hell away from the Dunwich Building to the south. That place is bad mojo. I don't know what that place is about, but I hear about weird shit going on.
If you're anything like me, being told to stay away from somewhere is like a red rag to a bull, and your immediate reaction will be to make a beeline straight for it. From the outside, the Dunwich Building doesn't look like much. Compared to Tenpenny Tower, which looms large nearby, it's a drab, innocuous, uninspiring structure, one which does not stand out in the slightest until you get a little closer. If you're paying any sort of attention, it will become instantly apparent that this isn't just any old wasteland ruin. As you reach its entrance, your compass is pointing south, but after heading inside, it suddenly begins to point north. Strange. Meters ahead of you is a skeleton surrounded by scorch marks and ammo crates, more on him later, and nearby you'll find another, the remains of someone who tried to unsuccessfully barricade themselves inside a small storage room. There are also 5 audio diaries strewn haphazardly across a table. They tell the story of Jamie Palabra, who found the Dunwich Building while searching for his missing father.
He must have been trying to trap food here. I recognize his snares. I can make out a building on the horizon. That must be where he headed. If not, at least I get a roof tonight.
And in another room, a 6th can be found, guarded by a pair of ghouls who waste no time charging straight at you. It seems Jamie was immediately wary of his unsettling surroundings.
Don't like the look of this place. Don't like the smell. Gives me the creeps. Don't want to risk a shot at the crows till I know what's in there. Sneaking in tonight.
The only way forwards is up a staircase, which leads to a large office area full of ghouls. What makes everything which has happened so far and events to come so wonderful is that it all unfolds completely out of the blue. There are a lot of dungeons in Fallout 3 which contain ghouls, and there are a lot which feature well-executed environmental storytelling, but so often they're attached to side quests announced with big green letters on your screen, or they're very short forays lasting no more than a few minutes. Conversely, the Dunwich Building is not a mission added to your log, nor is it a brief affair. It's a frightening, incredibly detailed romp with enough substance to be a titled side quest which arrives completely unexpectedly. That gives it a lot of power. Of course, if you know what you're in for having watched a video like this, it loses some effect, and as a fan of horror video games myself, I'd not describe it as the absolute scariest thing you'll ever play, but that first time through is magical, in the worst way possible. There are so many details it's easy to miss if you rush straight through it, even during these early stages. A door opens of its own accord as you approach. Computers have also been rigged to explode as soon as you interact with them, although there are warning signs in the form of these spinning antennas protruding from them. The groaning, creaking soundtrack will very quickly get under your skin too. If you remain unperturbed, perhaps the human head left on a desk next to Jamie's 7th audio diary, or the bloodstains on the walls and torso on the floor, will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Interestingly though, if you're wearing the ghoul mask when you reach this section, the head and torso won't be there. I've no idea why, but it's probably an oversight or a glitch rather than anything meaningful. It's clear by this point that Jamie found himself in an awful lot of trouble.
The raiders told spook stories about zombies in the ruins. Never saw anything like that where I come from. Lord help me. They're real. Not quite what Thor said, but close. These things look... I think they really used to be people.
There is only one path forward, a door which leads to the forsaken Dunwich ruins. Seconds after entering, you're able to momentarily see into the past before the man in front of you is promptly replaced by a glowing ghoul, a brilliant scare. The cries of more ghouls from the floor above hopefully won't be enough to distract you from the remaining functional terminal in the room either. It is loaded with dictation software and contains several logs. The first is a message to employees who worked for Dunwich Borers LLC, the company who owned the building and made drills for excavation work, thanking them for a successful product launch. What follows after is far darker. A pair of messages were created on the 23rd of October 2077, and both feature only nonsense, as if the computer was attempting to turn noises into words. In fact, that's exactly what happened. The 23rd of October 2077 is when the Great War between the USA and China began, with the gibberish on screen likely the result of the software trying to translate the beginning of a thermonuclear war. Nothing else was recorded until the machine picked up a voice nearly 57 years later. Over slightly more than a month, 3 more entries are created. In the first, someone seems to be trying to keep something made out of paper safe. In the second, they speak of their skin falling off as unknown forces attack. And in the third, they've completely lost their mind, talking about something known as Ug Qualtoth and a deep temple. Next to the terminal lies Jamie's 8th audio diary too.
God help me. I found Dad today. I didn't think it was him, but... face. The zombies didn't touch him. I think he was becoming like them. Didn't know it was him until I found that old book near him. No more killing. I just need to go. Can't forget the book. All I have left of him. It's warm against the stone. I'll just rest a while.
Between both the computer and the diary, events are left somewhat open to interpretation. What we can say for almost certain is that Jamie found his father and likely killed him, not realising until the deed was done who he once was, picked up a book he was carrying with him, and then began to rapidly transform into a ghoul himself. Who the last 3 computer logs belong to is less obvious, although there are really only 2 possibilities. The first is that it's Jamie speaking. After finishing his 8th diary, he slumped next to the computer to rest for a while, and it picked up his voice as he descended into madness. An argument could also be made that it's possibly his father, given Jamie discovered him nearby, but I'd say that's the less plausible explanation. I think Jamie reached the area after leaving several audio diaries along the way, found his father and dispatched him, recorded the 8th entry, and then stayed in the vicinity for several weeks, with his ramblings and attempts to keep the book safe from intruders recorded by the computer. You're also able to gain some insight into those intruders themselves. Unlocking this door, you find while rummaging around the floor above, objects creepily fall by themselves and another skeleton lies on the ground. Whoever that person was used the terminal on the desk before they passed. It details their efforts to scavenge from the Dunwich Building and the trouble they ran into as they were caught off guard by the horrors lurking within. Trapped in the room with ghouls roaming around close by, they awaited the arrival of their friend Billy, who was due to join them with ammunition and grenades. Unfortunately, Billy didn't make it very far at all. Remember the skeleton right by the entrance with ammo and grenades next to them? Yeah, those are the remains of Billy. A few more ghouls need to be dealt with as you edge ever more nervously forward through the next area, at the end of which is a door leading to the Virulent Underchambers. Upon entering, Jamie's final audio diary can be found directly ahead of you.
Sharp knife. Sharp knife to send him to Deep Temple. Flay and say my words. Abdul comes again on the feast of the weaker. Feast for the Deep Temple. Born again. Here. Al-Hazared! Yes! Yes!
Aside from battling back more monsters, most of your time spent in the Underchambers involves travelling ever downwards, first through holes in the floor and then using stairs in a maintenance area. It's the in-world manifestation of the idea of spiralling into insanity, of journeying further into the literal and metaphorical depths from which there may truly be no escape. Also, as if proceedings weren't tense enough already, the music stops playing and you're left with only a faint background hum and your own thoughts. At the bottom, another door and then tunnels. A voice, not a human one, can suddenly be heard in the background. Here you finally meet Jamie, who is worshipping something, as well as a few other ghouls, and you actually gain karma for putting him down, so evil and twisted has he become. The reason why the Dunwich Building is such a horrendous place also finally becomes apparent. A strange obelisk sits in the centre of the cave, one side adorned with skulls, the other with vines and a woman reaching out, the source, presumably, of the nightmarish situation you've been forced to reckon with. At this point, there's little else to do other than to exit as fast as your legs can carry you. Even as you retrace your steps to conclude this chilling adventure, however, things still aren't quite right. To understand what's wrong, you need only recount the trip you've just taken. Entering the Dunwich Building at ground level, you go up to the first floor and then down another set of stairs, so when you arrive at the forsaken Dunwich ruins, you're still at ground level. You then go up some stairs and then eventually up once more, so you're on the second floor, before dropping back down to the first to enter the Virulent Underchamber. Everything adds up so far as you can see the second and presumably highest floor directly above you as you are on the first, and you then drop down 3 levels, which by my estimation would leave you 2 floors below ground level in the basement. Reaching the maintenance area, you go down this flight of stairs and a second longer set right after, which is followed by your visit to Jamie and the obelisk. Ignoring the descent and descent into the caves, they cancel each other out. To escape, you go up this flight of stairs and one more, go through a door facing west, and somehow emerge facing east, all the way up on the first floor near the entrance again. The geometry does not make sense at all. Of course, there's always the possibility it was a bodge job by Bethesda to ensure you didn't spend an age walking back to where you started, but with them pulling the compass trick a second time, I'm inclined to think it was intentional, and a very clever way of keeping you on edge right up until you leave. At long last, you're able to do a runner and once again breathe Capital Wasteland air that, after the ordeal you've just been through, smells sweeter than it ever did before. If you worked your way through the Dunwich Building when Fallout 3 first released, it's likely you were left with a whole lot of questions, including, what is the deal with the book Jamie mentioned? What's going on with the obelisk in the cave? Who are Abdul and Al-Hazred in the final audio diary? And what about Ugg Qualtoth mentioned in the terminal? And plenty more besides. I'm not going to delve any deeper myself during this video, as this is where the story ends, but only for the time being. In my next video, we'll head to Point Lookout, where the story continues as one of part of Fallout 3's DLC offerings. With so much yet to be uncovered, perhaps we'll find the answer to some of our questions. Thanks for watching the video, boys, girls and vault dwellers. If you had a frighteningly good time, do consider liking, subscribing and letting me know your thoughts. And all's well, we'll meet again soon.